Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fashion Avenue News TV, where only the best will do. Tonight, we have the amazing fashion designer Ray Brown. We can't wait for him to answer our questions. But before we start our interview, let's take a moment to say hello to our sponsors. We'll be right back in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And we have the super designer, Ray Brown, here with me. Ray, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to have you, Ray. We're going to jump right into our questions.
Okay.
You're a successful fashion designer. Why did you choose a career in fashion?
For me, it all started with Elsa Clinch over in Europe. She spoke fashion to me that I had not really seen. I knew it was in me, but I couldn't figure out why. I know I liked individualistic clothing and individualistic looks. Apparently, from a very young child, that's true compared from what I hear from my family. And so, I when I found her on television, I was surprised. I had not seen European fashion before. I
Mm,
had seen things in dance shows, BET, all of those types of things, to be able to understand all the different views on fashion. But then I saw a whole new culture, and that kind of spoke to me in particular at that time about form, fit, fabric, all these things, and the variety of things that I hadn't really seen. Because fashion was a very kind of closed market at that time, whereas now it's pretty open. We didn't have the internet, so we
mhm,
couldn't go find it.
mhm.
So I was able to go see it and see what was speaking to me in my dress, and help me understand why I wanted to design my own clothing.
Fabulous. Now, I understand you've gone to school for fashion.
Yes,
How important is the education opposed to just being self-taught
I
design?
think it. I think it's very important actually, because even if you don't go get a degree, if you're able to go get coursework, at an FIT, a Parsons, so forth and so on, what you get to understand is technique,
Mhm.
and you get to understand the importance of darts. You get to understand design lines. You get to understand the importance of fashion styling and fashion drawing and the whole bit, because it's really its own market. So self-taught can give you more so the sewing aspect, you and even to a degree design aspect, but now you need to be able to put labels to what you're doing, if you want to be in the market itself. So I think that's very important. And then, of course, the business side, I think you just have to go to school for,
Mhm.
to be able to understand that great design is wonderful, design is necessary. But if you can't market it, for example, what good is it?
Right. You're just walking around wearing fabulous clothes.
Exactly. Everybody can say how nice you are, but it's not a business.
Exactly. Now, how important, skills are important.
Yes.
Becoming a successful fashion designer. See, you can be a fashion designer, but you are a successful fashion designer. What
Mhm.
skills are necessary and how important is customer service?
I think the skills that are necessary are the ability to, one, think outside the box. You can't go with what's always there. You have to allow yourself your design style to speak. I think the other skills that are necessary is a willingness to learn the business. It
Mhm.
really is a business, and to be able to understand, to be able to speak to other people in the business, for example, you need to be able to understand the terms that they're referring to. So I think that's necessary as well. The other skills is being able to, believe it or not, speak to people.
Right.
Customer service comes in with there. You have to be able to convey the ideas that are up here into your pattern makers, the designers that may be working with you, marketers. All of those things are necessary. Uh, Ultimately, you have to have a love for the business. If you don't
Right.
have a love for the business, you'll quit every single time something goes wrong, and something will go wrong. But but you have to have a
As in
love for
life,
the business.
yes,
It's life. It's life.
yes. I mean, and you have to have a kind of tough skin. You got to toughen it out.
Yes, I
Now,
mean, this is your baby, of course, but you have to
mhm,
realize that just because you like it doesn't mean everybody else is going to. But you
exactly.
still have to know, not only I like it, but and a personal thing for me, is it made well? That is so
Yes,
important to me, to be able to say, not only does it look good on you, but it's going to last. It's
right.
made well. The seams are good. You use the right thread. You use the right fabrics. All that's important when you're going into fashion design in particular.
And I'm glad you brought that "is it made well" up, because you were kind enough to be a judge for us in the $5,000 Fashion Beauty Olympics.
Yes.
And most designers, all the designers, the scores, the highest score they could get was inside, not
Yes.
outside the clothes.
Yes.
And see, they came there not realizing how important the
Yes.
inside of the garments were, because they didn't know we were going to turn the garments inside out. They had no idea. So when
That's
the judges started kind of going around,
yeah.
some of them got nervous.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm old school. I was fortunate enough to have teachers and actually even my family at home. When I make something, you have to turn it inside out. And you have to look and see, okay, I think one of my teachers told me, they said, your clothing from the inside, you should be able to wear your clothing inside out. That's how good it should look.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's something that I don't consider myself an expert in the area of sewing, but I'm very good because I've gotten very good training and I've gotten a lot more of experience. So it's
Right.
important for me to look at something and say, okay, if whoever I send this item to, could be over in South Africa, doesn't matter, my name's on it. And so when I look at it and you pull it out and you say, "Oh, the seams are tight," there's a nice wraparound with the fold of a lapel. The inside stitching is done. Those are things when people write back to me and say how well things are, and also a big important in choice of fabrics.
Yeah.
Uh, I've seen so many people select a fabric for a stretch garment, and the fabric doesn't stretch.
That's
and, I, and
terrible.
they're wondering why the person's having so much trouble trying to get into it. It's like, it doesn't stretch.
Right. You have to have stretch fabric if you want it to stretch.
Yeah, you would think that was a given, but I've seen many times where it was not.
Well, Ray, we know that anytime somebody puts something of yours on, it's going to be amazing.
Oh,
Now,
thank you.
now, when you begin a new collection, because
Yes.
I've seen your garments and they are just so, I mean, every collection I see, it just goes to another level and another level. What
Thank
is
you.
the inspiration behind starting? How do you start? Do you see a pattern? Do you pick up a
Ooh,
fabric? What
I
inspires
think
you with a collection?
anything or anyone actually really can inspire me. And that's because it's anything or anyone that evokes an emotion from me.
Hmm.
So, this past year, for example, 2020 is full of emotions for everyone.
Yes.
It's, and my last collection, the spring summer 2021, was really about coming back to life because so many people had started to feel dead. And
Yeah.
I felt that, you could
Yeah.
feel that, the things that you took for granted, you just couldn't do anymore.
Right.
And so what I wanted my collection to be was really a coming back to life.
Mhm.
both for myself. Initially, I didn't even have the desire to design a collection for
Yeah,
2021. And I had to get myself out of that funk and say, okay, wait a minute,
yeah.
life's still here. You know, you
Mhm.
work, and then as I started more and more, I started thinking that way. I started seeing blues, and I started seeing browns, and I started seeing golds and so forth. And I said, okay, these are all elements of life. You know, blue water, brown the earth, and and blue also the sky, the sun, and the golds and the yellows. And literally, that's where that collection came from. This next one coming up is a collection that's called Royal Comfort. Why? Well, because people want to be comforted in 2021. We've had a rough
Mhm.
2020.
Yes.
So
Woo,
we want to be
woo.
comforted. And so it's going to be a collection that's still royal because that's just part of who I am. But it's going to be things that you can walk out and look great in, but things that you could also just caress and just make yourself feel better.
That is fabulous. And I've always, again, loved your collection.
Thank you.
We're going to go to our sponsors here. We got to talk to them because they're the ones that keep us going here at Fashion Avenue News. But we'll be
Amen.
right back with more from Ray Brown in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Fashion Avenue News TV, where only the best will do. And tonight we have the fabulous Ray Brown. We've been talking with him, getting all the information about creating collections, keeping a brand together, and all of that. So, Ray, talk about your jewelry. Now, you know, I love your jewelry, Ray. Every time I see you, I am like, that is mine. Take it off. I love it. I just love your jewelry. You come up with some of the most interesting pieces, so creative, and you put it together with the right garment. Let's talk about your jewelry.
Well, first I have to say that it's comical to me because I've always actually loved jewelry, even since I was a teenager. Actually, um, and this is generally the surprise of people. I'm not a jewelry designer.
Wow.
I just not I like jewelry that looked like somebody put it together by hand. So
Mm,
you're not going to generally see me wearing something that is like a general herringbone. They're pretty, but
right.
I know that can be stamped out pretty quickly. I like to see things that look like somebody put some effort into it and that there is flavor to it. There is a concept there,
Mm,
and somebody put their heart into it. And so when I find designers that fit that mold, I have to correct one thing. I have designed a few pieces. I have to admit, I forgot about that. But what I look for is, does it look like something that if I did that full time, would I do that? And
mm,
what do I like about it? And or what do I dislike about it as something and say, what might I change? When I'm looking at a garment that I'm putting jewelry on, especially photo shoots, fashion shows, whatever it may be, I have always seen the jewelry as the complement. And
mm.
so the outfit still needs to look good, but the jewelry needs to just kick it up just that extra. And when I see that, sometimes it may be a massive piece. I'm literally surrounded by jewelry right now.
I'm gonna come get some.
I'm looking at them. I'm like, wow, there's so much jewelry here right now. It's scary. I mean, when you see a piece like this, you know,
Wow,
it's like,
wow.
and you just want that to go on your wrist, and it's made to conform to your wrist. That's
That
a
is
great jewelry
fabulous.
design, with the AV stones. And so when I see something like that, or I see something that has a great African feel to it, as the case may be, and here I'll see a piece like this, and
Oh,
it
wow.
just caresses the neck. you know, and that's a rope and then just some great metal down the bottom with 3 mast faces. This is something that would go on to a Ray Benson design without a problem. Because it looks like it just fits within the mold. So the jewelry is, I have a lot of it. I probably could open my own store.
I love the jewelry.
I think jewelry is just another expression of who you are.
And I think you put it well together with the clothes. That's one of the things that makes it so noticeable. It's not too strong. It fits right with it. It kind of just like it was made for that piece, the way you put it together. So I think that that's fabulous, the jewelry as an accessory with it. And you also have great models.
Yes.
Now, everybody wants to work for Ray Brown because, listen, when your pieces come out, they are show stoppers. And you do them so well. You did a piece that was like a kind of bright yellow jacket, and it was so amazing that it went with the shoes that I had.
It did, yeah.
And I was in shock. So everybody wants to work for you. How do you pick your models?
Well, there are certain things, of course, you just expect. Obviously, you expect because for me, it's mostly guys for the most part. You expect them to look good. That's the first thing. But the fact is, all male models that are doing anything in the business will look good. That's kind of a given. You got to give me more than that. So the next thing I'm looking for is really personality. I need you to be able to show great the line, but there should be a confidence there in who you are. Because when you wear clothing, a person who's confident that wears clothing is going to make virtually everything they wear look great.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there and you're constantly fidgeting or you're worried about this, I'm probably not going to pick you, because what you're telling me is that you're not confident. The other thing is the other male model trait in particular that I look for is someone, of course, they have to be physically in the right condition.
Right.
That's a given as well. But the other thing I tend to look for is how you move. A number of great looking male models can look great just like stuck in one pose. What else you got?
Show me what you got.
I don't look for the Zoolander, I need to see, I need to see that personality. I need to see that comfort. I told people, I said, whenever I put an outfit on a model and it looks like that model walked in the room with that outfit, then I know that this is the model I need to work with.
That's the model for you.
Yes.
Excellent. And you do great photo shoots. You always have great photos. And they just so editorial and beautiful, and great covers as well.
Thank you.
How do you prepare for that? What is the process of maybe picking a photographer? Maybe you're the photographer sometime, or getting the models together. What is that process?
When I'm working with another photographer, it's a photographer who I know I can communicate my ideas to. But I also want a photographer that has ideas, so because I may see my look 1, 2, or 3 ways. The photographer may see them 3, 4, or 5 other ways.
Which is good.
We can talk about it and see what's going on. And we can connect, and I can see that it's almost as if I'm behind the camera when I see that photo. The majority of the pictures of the clothing that most people see are actually taken by me. And it's it surprises a lot of people. It surprised me when I started doing photography in 2007. I needed, it was done out of necessity. I needed pictures of clothing. I couldn't get a photographer in the time I needed it in. So I grabbed the camera and said, let's see if I can get shots at least good enough to show whomever the person I was showing the items to. Well, lo and behold, I had no idea I'd be good.
You're very good. The photos were great.
Oh, thank you. I mean, my very first photo shoot produced a photo that went on a cover of a magazine. And I thought they were kidding when they told me they were going to use it. But it was a photo of a model from Bulgaria, actually, who, I wrapped his head in this fur and put another piece of Ray Vincent piece here, and then I just dripped jewelry from the fur to go into the face and all that sort of stuff. And fortunately, I also took in school, I took work in Photoshop, so I knew how to edit.
Oh, good.
And so when I went in there and I started editing and so forth, I looked at the photo, I sent it to the model. He couldn't believe it. He said, I have never taken a photo like that whatsoever. And then somebody saw the photo and asked, could they use it in their magazine? I didn't know they meant the cover.
That's
And
great.
yeah, I was so surprised at the response, honestly. And so then I found that when if I have something very specific in my mind, a lot of times, at least the first set of shoots, I do myself, so that I can get across to the photographer I may work with. This is the type of thing I'm looking for, and especially when it comes to editorial, because I like sexy, I like sensual, but I don't like trashy.
Exactly. And it's a big difference.
Yes, it's a big difference. Some people don't know the difference. I like the person to be there. They may just have a blazer draped on one shoulder and have nothing else on, but I want you to pay attention to that blazer.
That's
And I
right.
want you to, I want the mood, the lighting, the whole bit to fit something that would go in a high fashion magazine. Not all photographers can do that. So a number of times I do it myself, or I work with maybe a handful of photographers who can pull it off.
Well, that's fabulous. I think that is good because you want your brand out there properly.
Yes.
Important. Now, how is social media marketing and things like that, advertising? Because, Ray Brown is not just, in New York City. You
Right.
guys are all over the world, Africa, Australia, somewhere. I mean, you're all over the place. And I think that's amazing when you don't, I don't want to say you don't have a big team, but maybe you don't have a big house or conglomerate that does this for you. So talk about the importance of marketing, social media, reaching out to people.
I think that I don't. If you did not believe that social media was important, all you had to do, as for a business, all you had to do was live through 2020, because it was, yeah. I mean, people couldn't leave the house for a period of time,
That's
and
true.
yet in 2020, I'm blessed to be able to say my sales doubled, because what happened was I started pumping more into. I wasn't doing fashion shows.
Right.
And so there wasn't a lot you could do person to person, if you will. So I marketed by way of social media. I improved my Twitter file. I improved Facebook. I connected them so that they're talking to one another. I got more involved in LinkedIn because that's a whole different audience than the other two. And then I also got into, I was already on Etsy, and I just started improving the items are there. And one of the things that Etsy does that's very important is that they do an analysis of where your business is coming from. When you go in and read that, you can see, oh, okay, so I'm, 75% of my sales are coming from Twitter, or, people that are accessing from my site are coming from here or from there. And what that tells you to do is where to pump more information in. Even if I had a brick and mortar store, you still need to have that social media, even if people are able to come into the store. Because remember, if I have a beautiful showroom in New York City, well, guess what? The world is bigger than New York City. And so
Exactly.
you have to, why can't somebody in Johannesburg buy my pieces? Mail goes over there too.
That's
So
right.
you can do all that. And I think without you, I think anybody who is not on social media that has a business, first of all, they suffered all through 2020. I can pretty much guarantee you that.
That's
But
true.
they are leaving their business untapped.
Yeah.
It's like making an amazing piece and only showing it in New Jersey. Why would you do that?
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. When all you have to do, and I tell these young designers this, I said, you guys have access to things I never had access to when I was your age.
That's
There
right.
was no internet in 2020 in my 20s. Wasn't there. And then
Nope.
social media on top of that. I said, now I can press a button sitting on my couch, and in one click, expose my design to millions of people. Why would you not do that? And so I think it's of utmost importance. It is not going anywhere. So if you want to run a business, I don't really care what your business is. If you want to run a business in this 21st century, you better have a social media presence. It's one of the things I check when I'm buying stuff on social media to find out if a store is legitimate. Do you have anything online? If you don't, I'm questioning how legitimate you really are.
Exactly. Because everything is, social media now. Like you said, years ago, we didn't have that. We had to go physically to the store and pray that, there was something left, if it was something that we really wanted, you
And
gotta go to the
direct
store.
mailing. That's all you had.
Yeah, direct
That take
mail.
forever.
And, you thought that was something when you got a catalog in the mail. You was like, whoa,
Yes.
I ordered something. I ordered.
And waiting forever.
And yes. Now you get it with Prime, you get it the next day.
It's
With
amazing.
Amazon. So, it's so amazing how
Yes.
everything right now is like instant. Now
Yes.
you have some celebrities that have worn your garments.
Mhm.
And I think recently you had
Yes.
someone. Let's talk about that. Wow, how did you do it?
This one again, another shout out to social media. It's one thing for people, general public to buy your pieces, which obviously is you're truly blessed to have someone who doesn't even know you buying what you sell. It gave me a special kick when a international fashion designer purchased my outfits. I
Wow.
was Anthony Mark Hankins, who's actually is actually I think born and raised in New Jersey. Interesting enough, is in
Wow.
California now. That's where his showroom is and so forth. But he also sells on Home Shopping Network, and he sells
Wow.
overseas. He found me on Etsy. He said he had seen me on social media. He said for a long time he had wanted to buy my pieces. He didn't know me personally at all. But he said during 2020, he said, you know what, I'm finally going to take the plunge. He bought 5 pieces right off the bat. And so when I'm looking at his name, and he spells his name very uniquely, he has like ANTTHONY. So I'm like, I don't know too many people that have spelled Anthony that way. It's Anthony actually. And I said, this can't be him. It's because I know who he is. I've seen him plenty of times. And so I'm packing things. I think I take pride in the way I package things and mail them off to my customers. I think it was that times 3 for him. Because I know what he's over the top, definitely. Sent it to him, and I was thrilled. It got to him. I was thrilled just when he liked it. He literally took a picture of himself in one of my designs during one of his design meetings. I was blown away.
Now that's impressive.
I was so shocked. And then he got on Etsy and gave me a review for every single piece he bought, and it was a 5-star review for every one of them, and a long paragraph per design. I thank God, I don't know how many times for that one, because that's like a teacher of mine at FIT giving me praise, because this is a person who's in the business. He has access to, he has a big company. He's designing, but there's somebody doing pattern making, somebody, whereas I could be a one-man team a lot of times. And the fact that and then I think the other thing that I like that he spoke about, not only did he like the design, not only did he like the fabrics, he spoke about the construction. I was over the top.
Yes.
When I saw when he talked about the construction of the garment and how good it was, I think I shed a tear, because it was someone. It's someone who knows. It's like Naomi Campbell complimenting your modeling.
This is somebody with the experience that is selling. That's amazing, Ray.
Oh yeah, and I have to thank you for a lot of this, to be honest. I really do, because when I first you introduced me to the New York market, in particular as a menswear designer. And one of the things you hammered home was always construction, construction, construction. It has to be made well. And so when I felt like I think I told somebody, I said, I think I did Sophia proud.
Yes,
When he
yes.
gave me those comments, I think it took me, I was on a week-long high just on that one. And
That's good.
here's the kicker of social media. Once he purchased, my sales went up.
Wow.
What do? You know, when you see that, because somebody who says, "Oh, wait a minute, Anthony Mark Hankins likes this man's stuff." I may not know who he is, but I know who Anthony Mark Hankins is.
Exactly. So we
And if
need to
he is,
look at that guy.
thank you, thank you. So and the sales have been up ever since.
That is fabulous, Ray. I think that that's so important, especially again, made well. Because that's
Yes,
one of the things that, I learned coming up that you should be able to wear the garment, like you said, inside out. So I think that that's really amazing.
I
Now,
was thrilled.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about being prepared as a designer because you just said something that is very important. He ordered something, you were able to ship it out,
Yep,
and you did extra wrapping or whatever.
yep, yep.
Being prepared because you know something. Sometimes you have designers and you see the garment on the runway, but they can't give you the design or nothing's
Yep.
ready. I mean, I don't understand. That
I
seems to
don't get
me
that
like,
either.
are you in business or are you in play?
I don't get
Okay.
that either. I have to admit, there are so many designers that I see who have some wonderful work. Well, let me correct that. There aren't so many that have wonderful, but there are some that have wonderful work. And I go to their website and there's nothing on it.
Nothing.
And I sit there, I say, well, is this for sale or just to show a nice design? I'm confused. You know, what are we doing here? And so you have to be able to, first of all, walk through the process. Again, this is where schooling will help.
Yes.
The process from design to delivery is what I call it. When
Yes.
the idea that whatever you make, you should think somebody may buy this, and
Right.
somebody may want to buy it right then. When I show up at a fashion show, I'm there with my clothing, of course, there with the models and so forth and so on. I'm also there with my Square. I'm there with my Cash App. I'm
That's
because
right. However they want to pay.
whatever money you want to give, I got it.
That's
And
right.
because some people want to take it right then, and
Yes.
my business is really directly to customer business,
Right.
with a few in boutiques here and there, but mostly directly to customer because I don't make a lot of duplicates.
Right.
So a
Yes,
number of
something
things that make
sometimes
a
one of
one of a
a
kind.
kind. Right.
Exactly. So you buy it directly, or somebody buys 5 or 6 pieces for their boutique. Okay, that's fine too, but it's still a one of a kind.
Right.
But when you go there, you have to be prepared for your clothing to be examined, to be ready to be purchased. If it's not ready right then, when can it be? How much does it cost? You should have figured all that out before you left your house.
Right.
So,
You should
so that
have
you know
that ready for the client
exactly.
if they ask you.
Exactly. Are your business cards there? If not, why aren't they? You know,
Exactly.
do, how do people contact you? Is there, do you have a website? You should have something these days.
Right.
These days, people are
Even
even
if you
happy
have
with
social media, I think you should still have a website.
exactly. You want to have that, and even if your website is pointing to where you sell, that's fine
Right.
too. But the fact is, you have to have a medium under which to market your pieces. It's what how frustrated are you when you finally find this piece you absolutely love and there's no way to get it? That
I
that
had that problem, so I agree.
it doesn't make any sense. So, if something's old, I'll tell somebody in the advertisement, old design or sold. But I'm also saying, but if you want something along the same vein, tell me. Because I made it, I can generally find another way, another design that will complement it. If you like this design, you'll probably like this one. So there's
Excellent.
all these ways that you can come. I mean, you have to be able to speak to people. I
Mm.
see so many designers who, and now you know me, I'm first one running out typically after a fashion.
Right.
But people catch me on the way, and I'll stand there and I'll have a conversation about what I do. And when they see that you're really into what you do, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear from
Yes. And Ray, you are always so, you never brush people off. I've never seen you do that.
them. No.
You always seem to be open when someone has a question or something. I mean, I've seen you at shows and you're busy and you'll stop and talk to me. I'll be like, Ray, and you'll stop and talk to me when you're trying to do 5 things.
Oh
So
yeah.
it is important that people, and I think that also goes like as a part of customer service that is also,
Definitely.
you don't know if that person is going to be a customer.
Or you don't know who they know.
Exactly.
There's another thing. I mean, there are a number of I've found out in later on when, and I actually learned this way back before I became a designer, is that you don't know who you're talking to a lot of the times when you're having these cold meetings, if you will, and the people come in, they may not be buying for themselves. They may be buying for a celebrity, for all you
Exactly.
know. You have
Right.
no idea. I mean, that's how I dressed 2 football players
You
who
see
I had
that?
never met. Somebody saw my stuff. He contacted me. He lived in Philadelphia. He contacted me, and I didn't know who he was getting them for. And
Right.
so he invited me up and went up. All of a sudden, this big man comes walking out of the kitchen. I'm like, oh. I, I,
Okay.
while he's walking over, the guy
Yay.
leans over to me and says, he's the MVP. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, you could have told me that before I got here.
Yeah, that might have been helpful.
One thing for sure, I had my kit. He said, "You think you'd be able to fit me?" I pulled out my measuring tape and said, "Let's go."
Okay. You were prepared, Ray, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
have to be,
important.
because there's a lot of competition out there.
Oh yeah.
I consider myself a small business. I'm still competing against, especially again, 2020. You
Yeah.
find that the small businesses did better than the bigger businesses in a
That's
number of
right.
cases. I
Yeah.
was able, and recognizing an opportunity. March of last year, of course, when we started being closed in,
Hmm.
I wanted to make. I knew that people needed masks. My family in particular. I made some masks for my family. I did not even think about the idea that other people would need them. And what happens? My sister says, "Ray, I'm getting off requests for your mask." After a while, I was making 40 masks a week.
Wow.
Yeah. I was and I was doing it at a time where the big businesses couldn't start up yet, because I was
Right.
just in my little sewing room cranking these things out. It was a big boon to sales last year because it was completely unexpected. And yet I
Right.
was able to take advantage of it at a time when the big businesses couldn't even compete with me.
Excellent. Excellent, Ray. You never know where, something's going to come from. That's why it's always good to be prepared.
Yes.
Now, how important is press, and media to a business?
Yes.
How important is that to you?
It's actually quite important because, again, reach. You
Hmm.
never know who they're reaching out to. You never know who's going to read that magazine online or digital, digital or in hand, hard copy. You never know when that's going to end up on Oprah's desk.
That's
you
right.
just you
That's
just
right.
never know. It's when you hear these things, and you're surprised when somebody says, "Oh, I saw your work in," and I didn't even know I didn't even do a photo shoot for the magazine, but pictures from somebody else that took mine went there, and so
Hmm.
they start talking about it. I always consider the press the formal version of word of mouth, because what
Yeah.
you have there is people see your work, what have you, and they talk about it in their columns or in their blogs or, on their social medias here and there. And they introduce you to people who you've never met before, but who may be
Mhm.
interested in what you want to do. I remember the first time I did a show with you, as a matter of fact, someone came up and says, "You belong in Amsterdam." I never thought about being in Amsterdam, but he says, "What you do, people in Amsterdam would go crazy for." And I
Wow.
was just so surprised to hear that, because I didn't know much about fashion in Amsterdam. Now I hear that with this new line, I hear that about different parts of West Africa. saying, you know what you would do well. There's someone now, I can't believe this, someone now who's looking to get me a pop-up shop in Ghana and Rwanda.
Wow.
I'm like,
That's
really?
amazing.
Again, he saw me on social media and started
Wow.
connecting me with, he's over in Rwanda right now trying to get it set up.
Wow.
And you sit there, I say, you know what? Lord willing, if you get that together, I'm there.
That's right, Ray. That is amazing because this is what happens when
Yes.
you're prepared, when you're professional, when you
Yes.
have good quality garments. That is the most important thing, to make sure that that garment is done. I mean, and you're personable. You talk to people, you stop. You're not a mad person all the time. All of this stuff is important, and it helps your business. Like
Mhm.
your sister wearing the mask, word of mouth. Who knew?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
that was another thing. You, as a designer, you saw the need and you filled it, and look what else it filled.
Exactly.
So all of these things are important that designers need to look at when they're out there,
Yes.
branding, customer service, just being polite because you don't know who you're talking to,
Exactly.
stopping when someone has a question after the
Yes.
show,
Yes.
especially when
Yeah.
you're tired and you want to go home, but you still stop. So all of that is important.
Yes.
Now, this is our last question. And I
Okay.
know that you're the person to ask this question.
Okay.
Inspiration, something that you can leave, some inspiration to other designers, other people, photographers, anybody, because you do all of that. Uh,
Okay.
Inspiration, because 2020, kind of kicked our hiney.
Yes, it did.
And, a lot of people were feeling a little lost.
Yes.
So
Yes.
now we're kind of on the comeback trail.
Exactly.
What inspiration can you leave with us?
Know your purpose. Know your purpose is probably one of the things I live by in all the things that I've been blessed to be able to do. You find your purpose and then you work your behind off at it. Your purpose will make way for you if you use it. It is so important. One of the things that 2020 taught me so well was what am here to do in various portions of my life. For almost a year now, I've been running me and two or three or four other brothers have been running an online worship service that I had never planned to do. And
Wow.
who knew that I would be doing that? But what you see is that the barriers get out of the way when you are feeling your purpose. In design, this new line that I have, Ray Vincent Heritage, it was me fulfilling my purpose. I hadn't planned on starting a new line with it, but when I started going into my heritage, my West African heritage, Nigerian, Ghana, so forth and so on, I started just working out of what was in me. So when you know your purpose, you can start doing that. Know your purpose, know your craft.
Yes, that's
Very
important.
important. Don't think you know everything.
No.
Go study, learn. One of the best things I've been able to do is learn from people, even children, that tell me something. I'm like, you know what, that's a good idea. Or, you know what, that would work. Or, you know what, now I see why that doesn't work. I think one of the things my teachers always showed me, no matter what they were teaching me, was you're willing to learn. You don't think you know everything. And then finally, work your craft. It's great to know your purpose. It's great to know your craft, but you got to put the work in. You got to put the work in. No one's going to hand it to you. No one's going to play a pity party for you. Did you have some troubles in 2020? Yes. Did you lose some people in 2020? Yes, we all did.
Yeah,
But what are you going to do with 2021? What are you
exactly.
going to do now? So know your purpose, know your craft, and then work both.
Fabulous. Well, Ray, I want to thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. You're one of those people that, people just have so many questions because you have so much knowledge and creativity that we could just talk to you all night, but we'll have to do a part two because we can't keep you all night long. We'll have to do a part two because you just, in my opinion, are the like blueprint for a fashion designer. You
Thank
really, you're into what you do. You have customer service. I have never, in all the years I've known you, never seen you angry. Like, I'm sure you have a side. I've never seen it with customers, with models, nothing. And this is I'm so impressed by that because I'd like to get to the point where, I'm not ready to punch somebody out. But I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us and to just be with us this evening and to share your knowledge and inspiration. It really, really is so important to the people watching and recovering from 2020, going into 2021. They're looking at, they're looking for leadership, they're looking for inspiration. And you've given us those things tonight. So thank you, Ray Brown, for being with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sophia Davis, Fashion Avenue News TV, where only the best will do. Our guest tonight has been the master designer, Ray Brown. We'll see you next week.